Almost exactly 20 years ago, in 2006, Liam Kyle Sullivan became Kelly. I can't show you the video, but Kelly was in a viral YouTube video where she told us her thoughts on shoes. Now, the reason most of you in this room, if not everybody in this room, can look at this picture and immediately think about shoes is because Sullivan understood mimetics. Now, our kids understand it too, and so do we. But when we put on our product hats and management hats and executive hats, we often forget to apply a little bit of our personal brand. We forget the common condition that, at least for now, the audience are all human beings with human sensibilities, and we respond to things that resonate with us, and most of all, things that are sticky.
And shoes became the very real entry point for us. Not the AI by itself, not the pipeline by itself, the fact that the problem already felt resonated before explaining anything technical.
My name is Shane Hero. I work with Red Hat's partners at the intersection of platforms and workloads. And every day I have conversations with vendors about OpenShift integrations. Now lately that's been a lot of, let's add more AI. But never has the human in the loop been more important than right now. I've had an opportunity to do a lot of work with EDB.
And I'm Big Inja. I have been working as an AI engineer for a while at EDB in the intersection of AI and PostgreSQL.
When we first started having conversations, it was clear to me that Bilge and I are on the same page about associating our solutions to the human condition. This is how we write the AI story in this timeline in a way that isn't thoroughly dystopian. So let's talk about that.
Because one of the examples we kept coming back was surprisingly ordinary. A friend of mine has a pair of running shoes that she could not stop talking about. And after a while of our conversation, I started looking for a pair of running shoes as well, because I'm a marathon trainer and that's a constant need. I knew hers and I wanted something very similar. I knew the brand, but not the exact model or the color. I knew what I'm looking for, but not the right search for it. But I had a photo and I had enough to know what I was looking for. Sometimes the problem is not that you don't know what you want. It's the fact that you don't know how to explain it to the system the way that the system expects. That's the friction. You're standing in front of a search bar, you're typing yellow running shoes, kind of chunky with a bit of a white mesh on the side. You know exactly what you want. The system has no idea what you're looking for. The gap between what a person wants and what the system expects, that's where the friction is. In Fashion Recommender, you can upload a photo and of the shoes, for instance, for me, and the system returns visually similar products. No keyword, just find me something like this.
That's awesome. It comes as no surprise that as an industry, we tend to focus on the hype around new technologies. And this isn't just about AI. Every generation has faced transformative technology, and when that happens, everybody's in a rush to build a better hammer. But innovation starts by knowing the shape of the nail and where you want it to go first. So your technology is awesome. You have the best hammer. But just as our ancestors had problems, like get that rock up that hill or get me to the church on time, so your customers have problems as well, like my coworker doesn't speak the same language as I do, or my company requires that I maintain sovereign control over my data. These are the problems that determine the products we build and how we bring them to the marketplace, but they're also the problems that provide us sticky entry points that our customers won't soon forget. And it's where our architecture becomes interesting and earns its place in the story.
Because once someone feels the problem, they naturally want to know how you solved it. You don't have to convince the people to care about your architecture. The problem and solution does that work for you. When I told about the shoe story, nobody's first reaction was, oh, which model did you use? Instead, it was, did it actually work? And how you solved it? That's the door opener. That curiosity is the invitation for you to go one layer deeper.
Exactly. And it doesn't hurt to humanize the explanation either. We have a tendency to get in the weeds when having conversations about complex technical topics. We assume context that might not necessarily exist, especially when we're talking with people who aren't familiar with AI-driven development. It does not hurt to build comprehension with metaphor.
All right, let me try. Imagine you walk into a massive library. In this library, books doesn't organize by titles or authors. Instead, they're organized by what they're about. Books about ocean adventure are near books about sailing, which are near books about surfing. Things that are similar in meaning, physically closer.
So it's not organized alphabetically, it's organized by meaning.
Exactly. And here's what's wild about that. Red hat in English and rojo sombrero in Spanish, they mean the same thing, right? And they end up in the same shelf. Not because the AI model has been to a head shop before, but because the context the AI model learns thinks that, oh, they mean the same thing, so they need to be together. That's what the model understands, not the spelling, not the grammar, but the meaning. Now, a vector is just a location in that library. When you take a photo of the pair of the shoes and feed it to the model AI model reads the image, turns it to a coordinate, and decides, oh, this should be located in this location near this other things. It turns a picture into a position in the meaning space.
So we're not searching just by meaning anymore. We're searching for what lives near this other stuff.
Yeah, and that's what an embedding is. It's the coordinate of your data gets in that library, and the vector database, it's the whole library itself. It stores those coordinates right alongside your regular data, like the stock level, the size, the price.
So we don't need a separate system for facts and another for the meaning.
No, same database, same query. So when our shopper uploads a photo, that goes through a vision model and gets turned into a coordinates, and the database finds what's nearest neighbor around it and retrieves them back. Photo in, matches out.
But what I keep getting asked is when we're having conversations with these chatbots or these co-pilots, they seem to remember what we said 5 minutes ago. How does it keep that in context? Is it the same library?
It's same idea, but different job. In search, you place one thing and ask for what's nearby and retrieve them back. In a conversation, whatever you said to the model and the model said you back, collect it together, puts into those shelves, and the model looks at the whole conversation and thinks, given all this conversation so far that I'm seeing, what should be the next word or token generated?
One word at a time?
One token at a time, yes. Each one informed by everything that gets before it. And that's next token generation, of course. And the reason it felt like AI remembers every single time, it rereads the whole conversation. It doesn't actually have a memory in the current AI systems, but it has a context window, and the context window is how many shelves that you can fit it in a given conversation. If it gets long enough, the previous shelves falls out of view, so it will forget.
That explains why in a longer conversation, the model seems to forget what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. The shelves that model cannot see might not exist in model's world. So, but for search, like we had it in the fashion recommender, that the photo in matches out version, it's just the photo goes in, gets the coordinates, fetches what's nearby, clean and stateless.
See what Bilge just did right there? She explained embeddings, next token generation, and context windows. 3 concepts that fill entire textbook chapters. And she did it in about 2 minutes with one metaphor. No fancy slides or explanations. No diagrams. That's kind of the point of this talk. The tech demo, that has its place on the conference call with a couple of developers or systems integrators who need to understand where the connective tissue is. They need to understand how the system is supported. But at a conference, us, We don't need that. That's homework.
Because you have a 5 strong minutes of an attention of the stranger in a conference, and if you're lucky.
Yeah, not all of them are engineers. So let's start with what we all have in common. We're all human beings in a crowded expo hall with limited attention spans. So help me understand how your product improves my life and makes it easier.
And the way you get there is by asking one question before anything else. Who is the human on the other side of this? Not what industry, not what persona. Who is the person and what's bugging them right now?
Let's have a quick thought experiment. Think about the last demo you attended since you've been here, or the last few demos. What do you remember about them? What part of the problem they claim to solve resonated with you? Or did they resonate at all?
And if you're the one who's giving demos, could 3 people walking away from your booth describe what you showed them impacts their life? Not your product's capabilities, their life.
Because it's asking a lot of a person to draw connections between platform and workload and the human experience. They have an executive call right after this. They're taking a customer out to coffee, so we've got to be respectful of the modalities we use for content delivery.
Which brings us to the second question. Can you describe what your thing does without naming your thing? If you cannot explain the value in terms of the human would use, you didn't have the story yet.
And this is where a lot of demos fall apart. We start with the product name, the acronyms, and the capabilities. And then we go to our comfy space. But all the while, the person in front of us is still trying to figure out why this matters to them, why they should care.
I'll give you another concrete example of this. We built another demo, which is in AI Quick Starts right now with Red Hat. We called it Data Governance Copilot. Now, I could describe this as an agentic AI system that uses MCP server to generate policy-governed text-to-SQL with PII masking. That would be accurate, but I would lose every non-engineer in this room.
You'd lose me, and I'm standing right here. So what's better?
Let me try it again. Imagine an account manager. This account manager is working at an enterprise company. She has a customer meeting tomorrow, and she needs to get support ticket trends. She needs to get the contract details, that sorts of things. But she doesn't have the authorized to access the system to get those information for herself, for her meeting. Not because somebody's keeping this information from her, but because the system who keeps her customers' information also keeps other customers' informations as well, which she doesn't have an access to see it. So the access is locked down for her. And the only way to get those informations to asking someone like data engineers.
So what does she do if that happens today?
She files a ticket to the data engineering team, let's say, explains what she needs. 2 days later, she gets the sanitized output and probably half of the answers she was looking for, so she improvises in the meeting. That's the friction, not the database, not the governance policy. A person who knows what she wants, but she cannot get it herself, she is dependent on someone else's priority.
So the person is an account manager who just wants to prepare for a customer meeting, but she can't access the data on her own.
That's right. Now, I can describe what Data Governance Copilot is doing and solving of the problem. In this Copilot, account manager is a user where she can type her question in plain text. Show me the support ticket trends and contract details for the Acme Corp for the last 2 quarters. She only sees what she's allowed to see, which is her customer data, other customers report, internal pricing. They don't even hit the screen. PII masking has already been done. And policy is an active filter in the pipeline. So see what happened right now, like the problem that we have solved. She goes from filing a ticket, waiting 2 days, to getting her answers on her own in 2 minutes.
So notice what Bilge just did right there. For the second time in 20 minutes, she explained MCP servers and SQL level masking, but it didn't sound like a white paper. It sounded like a problem we all understood because the story earned its place in the demo.
And that leads us to the third question. Where's the breadth? Where in your presentation, the audience get to feel something like surprise, relief, recognition, rather than just processing information. If there's no moment where they get to exhale, you're running a technical brief. You're not telling the story.
I fully expect that everyone here sees leads turn into opportunities. If you didn't, these conferences wouldn't make any sense. But what our channel partners are telling us is that there are many more opportunities just a breath away. And I mean that literally. AI is a great collaborator to get started, but the empathy layer, that's ours to bring.
That's the part you cannot automate. The part where you look at a full of strangers and decide, what do they need to feel right now?
Who's the human? Can you describe your thing without naming your thing? And where's the breath? Not everybody in your audience is going to be your target customer. In fact, many of them aren't. Some of these people wouldn't describe themselves as somebody who makes buying decisions, and some of them never speak to customers. Some of the people in this room are your partners, and some are local college students, but every one of them is a human being with connections to others in a world of technology that's increasingly dominated by AI products that are shockingly similar to yours. And every one of them is not more than 1 or 2 degrees of separation from someone who is absolutely your target customer. And all of them are influencing the thoughts of each other.
That's the thing to hold on to. Every person who walks away from your demo carries a version with them. The version they remember won't be the architecture diagram. It won't be the SQL query. It will be the moment that something clicked. The moment they thought, oh, that's what this is for. Sometimes that happens organically, but we can design those moments intentionally. For us, it was choose a photo, a feeling, a match. For someone else, it might be an account manager who finally got an answer without filing a ticket. The technology is different, the moment is the same.
With that in mind, the focal shift we want you to walk away with is this. Care more about what they want to hear than what you want to say. You have the microphone. The stage is yours. We have the opportunity to convert a passive audience into active participants in our demonstrations based solely on how well we empathize with their humanity in this moment.
Don't forget to breathe, not just you. Build a breath into your demo for them. A pause where that person watching gets to feel something before you move on. Because the pause before the demo is where you remember. You're not just presenting a demo, you're presenting to a person.